Hey guys, what's going on? This is another Outdoorsman 1 video. Today we're going to be talking about solar panels. Well, specifically hood-mounted solar panels. So the purpose of this video is going to be a complete overview of hood-mounted solar panels. I want you guys to be able to understand some of the key points, the benefits, the detriments, and all of the points associated with hood-mounted solar panels, and to help you figure out whether it's going to be a viable option for you. So when it comes to hood-mounted solar options, there are two big brands that kind of dominate the market. I'm sure there are others, but there are two that are most commonly thought about. That is LENSUN and Cascadia 4x4. This video is going to be a comparison between the two, seeing as I've had both. Now, a little disclaimer before I jump into the nitty-gritty on this video. One, this isn't going to be vehicle specific. This is going to be a very generalized video. Two, I do want to make it known that I was sent both of these products by both of these companies. Now, I don't have a discount code to offer you for either one, nor do I have a vested interest in saying which one is better, because I'm not making any money off of it. Both of them gave me a product for free. I did not spend any money on either one, but there was no exchange of funds. They didn't pay me to say anything. So I feel like this is going to be a pretty honest review. So the remainder of this video is going to be filmed in my driveway when I tear off my LENSUN solar panel, look at it, and then install my Cascadia 4x4 panel. Also, I'm gonna add some tidbits from when I installed the LENSUN the 3 or 4 times that I attempted to install it about 6 months ago. I've now had the Cascadia 4x4 panel on my vehicle for about a month, and I wanted to wait a little bit of time before I officially posted this video because I wanted to give the best opinion I could of both products. Before I jump into that, let's talk about those key points. Here are some of the points that I've learned from having a hood-mounted solar panel. One, you're obviously adding a thick insulated layer to the hood of your truck, which, if your vehicle runs hot and is, prolific for being a really warm running vehicle, i.e. my WJ, my Jeep crawler that I have, I would never add this to that because, like I said, you're adding 1/8 of an inch of multi-layered plastic silicone, and it's black. So it's obviously going to absorb heat at a higher rate than the color of your vehicle. So that might be something to consider. If your vehicle does run hot, this might not be the best option. Two, do I need a hood-mounted solar panel? The answer is no, but I'm not going to be the one to judge because I have a camper on my quarter-ton truck. But my vehicle's already doing the most. I already have 200 watts of solar on the roof. I already have a snorkel with a pre-filter and all that. So it just goes along with it. I'm not going to be the one to judge. So adding a small hood-mounted solar panel like this isn't really needed for overlanding. It's not needed for off-roading, but it does add to some of those creature comforts, like being able to run a heated blanket at night or being able to charge all of your drone batteries and stuff like that. The selling point and what both of these companies kind of teach you to do with your instruction panels or instruction leaflets that they give you is to wire this hood-mounted solar panel to your battery, your cranking battery, so that your cranking battery is always topped off. I've never really seen the purpose of that because if you don't trust your vehicle to be able to keep a charge, you probably shouldn't be taking it out into the woods or into the boondocks to begin with. That's my personal belief. Plus, I always carry a jump start pack with me, so having this go to my cranking battery really doesn't make sense. And let me know in the comments down below if this is something that you've done. Personally, I have tied this into my total solar setup, which is topic for another video that I have planned. Now, is this a necessity for you? It might not be. Maybe you don't have solar on the roof of your truck. Maybe you don't have the space because you run, you know, a rooftop tent, and obviously the soft shell rooftop tents you can't mount solar panels to. So maybe this is going to be your only option to add solar panels. And in that case, tie this into your Jackery, tie this into your dual battery setup, and you're good to go. Another point to add that I found personally beneficial since I installed the LENSUN about 9 months ago was it's effectively a hood blackout kit. It does block the center of your hood from the glare of your overhead lighting. If you do have lights on the top of your truck and you have a white vehicle or a light colored vehicle like I do, you get a lot of glare off the hood. Fortunate for me, I have a second gen Tacoma and the hood does slope down significantly, so it's not a huge issue, but I do have a lot of light overhead, and this eliminates almost all of that glare. So if you are looking at a hood blackout, this might be a beneficial hood blackout for you and serves a purpose. Another thing to consider and to be wary of is obviously you have this junction box at the top and a wire sticking out the back. So you're going to want to be careful when you wash your vehicle. You're going to want to be careful not to snag that on any sort of bushes or something like that. And if you have a higher slung bumper, having guide wires or something like that might be something that you might consider to protect the solar panel. Obviously this is a silicone solar panel, so it does kind of avail scratching, right? You're gonna have the propensity to scratch it and damage it, obviously, because it is much lower and much more accessible than compared to my solar panels up on the roof of my camper. Then when it comes to washing, you're gonna wanna be careful not to hit it with the pressure washer really close around the edge. Obviously, this is adhesive onto the hood of your vehicle, so if you hit it with a pressure washer really close, you might tear it off and damage it. I wouldn't recommend going to any sort of drive-through car wash with something like this. With those bristles that spin would definitely damage it. This is a lot softer material than anything else on your vehicle, so the possibility of it becoming damaged is much higher. The last question I'll answer before I jump into the nitty-gritty of this video: will this thing fly off on the freeway? No, it won't fly off on the freeway. I had my LENSUN, obviously, as you'll see with the videos, half of this corner was not adhered to the hood, and I did a 500-mile road trip with it, and it did not fly off, and it was snowing, so snow was building up underneath it, and it was creating kind of a hazard for me, so I'd get out and scrape the snow out from underneath it, but it still didn't fly off. This thing is very well mounted, and as long as it's not creating a giant sail like wind vacuum, it's not going to fly off on the freeway, so don't worry about that. So when it comes to cleaning the solar panel, after you've pressure washed your truck and done all of that, what I found to make this solar panel look the best and perform the best and stay clean the longest, I've found that if you take Armor All Walmart bought protectant, like the interior protectant, they've got the cleaner and then the protectant spray. If you take that and you wipe it down with a microfiber towel, it does a really good job at keeping the panel looking clean and making water beat off of it more and keeping it looking clean. That's just a personal opinion. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the rest of this video, the nitty-gritty, the actual installing of the panels, and my total comparison. These three packages behind me, they were sent to me by LENSUN Solar. They reached out to me and wanted to work together on a hood solar panel. I'm going to go as close as I can with the edge on this, and then I do have a roll of thicker stuff that I will brace it with across the side. Okay guys, so I tried that 50-pound extreme duty tape from 3M, and overnight it looks like that. The front is adhered very well, but the back is not. It looks kind of warpy right there. It's interesting. It's stuck right there, but it's not stuck on kind of these wingtips. I found some other stuff that's supposed to be a lot stronger. Let's go get some more though. All right, this time I'm not messing around. Got enough tape on there, hopefully to hold down all the different curves. I'm gonna put a little bit more up in that corner once I peel the stuff off, same up there and in the corners, kind of like I did right there. I'm hopeful that this will hold everything down as needed. Okay, so iteration number 3 has failed. Getting rather annoyed at this point, but it just doesn't fit my hood very well. You can see it up there, it's floppy. I'm wondering if it's supposed to be a 3rd gen panel and it's a 2nd gen truck and it has different contour lines. It's the only thing that I can think about now. Anyways guys, so behind me you've got Cascadia 4x4 shipping. Looks like, you know, UPS did their wonderful job at doing what they did, but the solar panel is pretty well protected on the inside. We'll see how it fared when we pulled the solar panel out. But stark contrast between this and the LENSUN. LENSUN was shipped by Amazon, so it was an Amazon warehouse product. That being said, if you know how Amazon packages things, sometimes they package them really well, sometimes they don't. This wasn't packaged very well, and as a result of that, you will see the scarring and scratching of the solar panel that was on the solar panel when I got it. That's why I wasn't really happy with the product when I got it from LENSUN, was because there was marring on the solar panel before I even got it installed. When we're comparing prices, the LENSUN, depending on where you get it from, somewhere around $320 to $350, and the Cascadia 4x4 is almost double that, with about $612, $610, somewhere in that market. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull the LENSUN solar panel off because it's pretty much worthless at this point, and we are going to start the install of the Cascadia 4x4 VSS. All right guys, so if you're looking at the back here, you're gonna see a lot of tape. So this was actually the 3rd time I had to install this solar panel. This solar panel comes with absolutely nothing on the back. It completely slick back and has no tape or anything like that. The instructions are okay for a Chinese product. The 5M tape that they originally said to use didn't really work too well for me. It didn't really work at all. The corners were curled up, there was no adhesion, and it didn't really look good. Then I tried some instant super glue tape, and that did okay, but about a week later it started to come undone. And then I ended up going with this stuff. This was just some Gorilla Tape, double-sided, and that seemed to work the best. Obviously it held on there for 6 months through the winter in Utah, but obviously all of the corners were curled up. There was that hump in the back, and there was no real conformity to the hood. But we're not gonna look at the cracking on there because that probably mostly came from pulling it off of the vehicle. Anyways, here's that delamination. You can see it. So vinyl came off pretty good. No issues there. I'm going to clean the hood up with some ammonia-based, Windex, and we'll get moving along here. Let's go ahead and get the Cascadia 4x4 VSS opened up. All right, guys, so the first thing I noticed about the panel is that it was wrapped in plastic, which the LENSUN was not, so that probably helps prevent any sort of micro abrasion, stuff like that from happening on the panel. Also, it is much heavier than the LENSUN. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I feel a noticeable difference. Maybe that has to do with the next point I have, which is the 3M tape that's already on there that goes all the way around, and also the cushioning tape that is underneath to keep the center at a good angle, because obviously the hood of a car curves. That is awesome. I'm really happy with that. And then also the biggest thing that I noticed is the Cascadia 4x4 logo is actually on the center piece of plastic, in stark contrast to the LENSUN, which has absolutely no branding on it. Then of course we've got a much beefier VSS system. This is just your solar charger, if you will. Both of these solar panels come with a solar regulator. Both of them are pre-wired to solar plugs, so if you already have an onboard solar system like I do, you don't necessarily need this. You can just plug this guy straight into your solar system. But the other thing that I will say is kind of the attention to detail here. You already have 3M tape on the back of this, so you can stick it where you need, wire this guy in, wire this guy in, wire your outputs, and then here's your inputs. Super simple. A couple more important notes that you should consider before getting started on this is temperature. Make sure it's not super cold out when you're installing this so that the solar panel can conform correctly. Make sure it's obviously not, freezing. Get you some blue tape so you can tape off where you're going to be mounting your solar panel so you don't have to measure a billion times. And I would recommend you getting some sort of a tape measure so you can measure out where perfectly center is on the hood of your truck. Along with the soap solution, figure everything out, measure a bunch of times, and then go for it. Doesn't take forever, just take the proper amount of time you need to get started on this project. So now I'm going to go over the install of the solar panels, which is effectively going to be the exact same with a couple caveats there. The whole process goes as follows. Mounting solution, if you don't know what that is, from vinyl wrapping, all you're going to do is get like an empty Windex bottle, fill it with some Dawn dish soap, and then fill the rest of it with water. Just a little bit of dish soap, couple drops, maybe a squeeze or two will work. You're just looking for some sudsy water. I sprayed the back side of this so that it wouldn't stick to itself, because obviously I'm doing this by myself, but this should go without saying. Make sure your hands are clean, or wear gloves before you do this, so that you can mount your vinyl on there and be able to move it around before you squeegee out all the bubbles, and that just allows you to move things around and adjust it before it is permanent. Okay, after that, then you're going to use the included little squeegee, and you are going to push all of the bubbles out and then wipe away any sort of moisture that might be left. After that's done, then you are going to go into the mounting of the solar panel. Now, that's kind of where the caveats start. The Cascadia 4x4 and the LENSUN have two major differences, and this is where they are. The LENSUN has a very large piece of vinyl that is maybe an inch or 2 inches larger than the solar panel itself. So it blacks out effectively the center of your hood. And then you mount your solar panel on top of that. This is where the differences start. Cascadia 4x4 has chosen to do the opposite of LENSUN, which is a smaller piece of vinyl that is 30 millimeters smaller than the solar panel. Now the reason for that being is because Cascadia 4x4 provides you with a 3M tape already placed along the perimeter of the solar panel, and they want that bond going directly to the hood of your vehicle. All right, now I'm going to let it air dry for a minute. So if you buy their full kit, you're going to have 2 of these 3M Adhesion Promoters. So then you let this dry. I'm going to go wash my hands. Let it dry for about 5 minutes, then we'll get the panel on. All right, so what they recommend is folding up about an inch or less of the VHB tape. Fold this up so you know where your line starts, and then set her down. There you go, guys. That's the install. All right, guys, so now that the solar panel is mounted, I used the included plastic to protect the solar panel, but I'm using some 2x4s and some various different things to cause weight so that the front of the solar panel can get a good adhesion bond, and then the back of the solar panel, which from my experience is where the most pressure to pop back up is. I'm just going to leave it like this for a little while. I don't have anywhere to go. They recommend you don't get it wet or do anything too extreme with it for at least an hour. This VHB tape from 3M seems to be doing a really good job, but I just want to make sure that this panel gets the best treatment possible. I know with the LENSUN, I gave it a good 3 hours and I laid a couple bags of mulch on top of it, and then I also put, you know, a 5-gallon thing of water, and it still popped back up. So I just want to give this the best absolute chance at adhering. It looked like it adhered really well, super simply. The only issue I had was the VHB tape actually ended on the side, so I had to get under there with a knife and the vinyl applicator and kind of pry it back. But we'll give this a little bit of time, and let's talk about the rest of the comparison. All right, guys, so now that we have the solar panel mounted on the truck and we're just waiting for it to adhere and bond, let's talk about some of the differences and some of the things that are very similar between the two solar panels. They are about the same footprint comparatively. Now, of course, that's going to be very dependent on your vehicle. They have a very similar setup where they come with a solar controller and they come pre-wired for solar inputs. Other similarities are that if you buy their complete system on both sides, you are going to get the vinyl, you are going to get the plug and play solar controller, and you're going to get the solar panel. That's kind of where the similarities end and we start getting into some of the differences. Transitioning to the LENSUN, you have to buy your own tape and you have to tape it off, which if you're a do-it-yourselfer, that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you have to go find the VHB tape. If you go to Walmart, you're only going to find 3 or 4 rolls of that VHB tape on the rack, and you're going to need at least 5 rolls to get all the way around it, because usually that VHB tape is like an inch thick, and they're $8 a roll, so it gets expensive really fast. Also, the Cascadia with that foam in the center makes it so much easier to mount it to the hood because you're not slipping and sliding around and having to, you know, hopscotch around. If you've got multiple people, then it doesn't make it that difficult. But obviously I was doing this by myself and I got this project knocked out in less than 2 hours. The LENSUN, no doubt, is a direct copy of the Cascadia 4x4, even down to the junction box here at the top, where on the LENSUN there is a place for a logo, but Cascadia obviously has the right to have their logo on their product where LENSUN does not. Another thing I will say about the Cascadia 4x4 that is very different from the LENSUN is very much ship it to you and you figure it out on your own, where the Cascadia, there was thought put into it. And by thought put into it, I mean the foam placed in the center to create friction, to prevent the sliding around, and also to prevent the ballooning up effect of the solar panel. The VHB tape perfectly placed all the way around is a huge plus for me. The instructions that are very intuitive and easy to understand with side notes and this and that. And if you got just the solar panel, this is what you do. If you got our whole VSS system, this is what you do. Whereas the LENSUN is, here's your panel, you figure it out. Also, getting to meet the owners of Cascadia 4x4, it was really awesome to be able to talk to them about their product and the comparisons between the two and why they did what they did and why they put vinyl just in the middle as opposed to all the way around to create a better bond, this, that, and the other. Temperature differences, expansion effect during high temperatures and when it's sunny out. Just so many different things. It was awesome to be able to bounce those questions back and forth with them. When I reached out to LENSUN about their product being damaged. They were like, no, it wasn't. And there was very little that they could do to sway my opinion on that. If you go through Cascadia 4x4 VSS's install instructions, their install instructions are perfect English, obviously because they're a Canadian company and they speak English, whereas the LENSUN is obviously ran through Google Translate, where you can understand what the instructions are telling you to do, but it's also not plain English. So you do have to consider that. The Cascadia 4x4 was packed much better. It had plastic over the panel. The panel was sandwiched in very thick compression cardboard, and then everything was taped to where it needed to be so it wasn't sliding around in transit. If you are in the market for one of these solar panels, I would highly suggest checking out the Cascadia 4x4. I will personally be looking at some of their solutions for adding more solar to the roof of my camper. If you guys do have any questions on the Cascadia 4x4 VSS or the direct copy thereof by LENSUN, shoot me a comment down in the comment section down there, or follow me on Instagram and shoot me a message. If you have any direct questions, comments, or concerns, let me know. So at the end of the day, the Cascadia 4x4 panel, I personally believe, is far superior to the LENSUN. If you're already going to spend a good amount of money on a solar panel, you might as well buy the better one that installs easier, that installs more cleanly, and just does a better job. And don't buy knockoffs. It's kind of annoying. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you've liked what you've seen, consider subscribing, following me on Instagram, and following me on all the socials. It's pretty much the same username. I appreciate you guys tuning into the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments down there. If this is something that's viable for you, if it's something that you would use, if it's something that you criticize, whatever, let me know down in the comments. And remember, guys, be good, be dangerous, be ready, and we'll see you on the trail. In short, guys, if you're gonna buy a solar panel for the hood, just buy a Cascadia. They're the real company. So much better. They're not a knockoff. Just buy the Cascadia. Also, another thing I didn't notice until right now, because I'm getting ready to go out, it looks so much cleaner not having that backsplash of the vinyl that's larger than the solar panel. This just looks clean and centered, and just, it looks cleaner. I like it.